Today in celebrity endorsements you probably don't really care about, rapper 50 Cent has endorsed President Donald Trump for re-election. The reason, pretty simple, he's rich and doesn't want to pay taxes. Of course. News at 11, rich person, millionaire, doesn't want to pay taxes. Shocker. Nonetheless, let me give you some details here because you can actually extrapolate a little bit from this. For one, let's go to what he said. On Monday, he posted a screenshot of Joe Biden's proposed tax plan, which showed that wealthy residents of New York City would have to pay a tax rate of 62%. That's, of course, state and local taxes apparently added in, right? So you get the federal taxes, and then you've got state taxes and local taxes added in. So somebody living in New York who's a multimillionaire would have to pay around 62%. Again, this isn't really counting like marginal taxes or the progressive tax system, which I'm assuming he doesn't understand that. That's not because he's a rapper, obviously. It's because actually a lot of people don't understand how marginal taxes work. They don't really understand those concepts because, frankly, who teaches that? Nobody teaches that. And so I didn't learn that in school. Would have been nice to know how to do my taxes after I graduated. That said, okay, here's what he wrote. He said, "What the F? Vote for Trump. I'm out. F New York. The Knicks never win anyway. I don't care Trump doesn't like black people. 62%. Are you out of your mind?" So I love the admission here, right? Sure, Donald Trump's a racist, but I don't want to pay taxes. Okay, but nobody wants to pay taxes. It's kind of what you do in society. And if you have millions and millions of dollars, you end up having to pay more because, well, I mean, that's your contribution to society. You have more resources, therefore you must contribute more resources to society for the people who do not have those resources. So that's kind of how progressive taxation works. So that said, he says, well, I mean, Donald Trump's racist, but I don't want to pay taxes. Good enough for me. He's going to lower my taxes. Appreciate the honesty. Now, in fairness, of course, 50 Cent's always been against taxation. Way back in 2010, he said this: "I should run America. First thing I do is cut my taxes and then tell you all to chill the F out. I'm going to get to the rest of the problems." Now, I love it because it really does show you the mindset of somebody who is in the top 10%, 1%. I'm not exactly sure how much money 50 Cent has. I would assume maybe more than 50 cents. I'm not sure. That said, okay, I love how taxes would be the most pressing issue. And look, it really gives you an insight into how wealthy people tend to vote. Look, they're not concerned about healthcare, right? As far as enacting universal healthcare, because, well, they already have it. They can afford healthcare. They're not really concerned about it. I think they're really concerned about rising home prices, okay? Because, well, I mean, they can afford their home. They've got $1 million mansions, multi-million-dollar mansions. They can do whatever. They're not concerned with jobs, unemployment, welfare. They're already set up on anything. So from their perspective, what's the most pressing thing for them? How much money they get to bring home. And that's really it, okay? The only thing that really matters to people like this is how much they end up having to pay in taxes for what I would assume to them goes to, people who don't deserve it, people who don't work that hard. And that's the thing, right? And I'm not saying it's true for everybody who is of that class. I mean, there are a lot of people who've had excellent class awareness that were, wealthy and use their wealth to help other people. Nick Hanauer is a great example of that. He's a very wealthy person who does a literal podcast called Pitchfork Economics, where he's like, hey, you know what we need to do? If we don't want the pitchforks to come out for us, then we might want to be a little bit more equitable in our society. I mean, it makes sense, right? But again, going to the mindset of some of the people in that class who think this way understand that wealth is a status symbol, and it gets you a certain amount of respect in those circles. The more wealth that you hoard, for example, the more respect that you get in the club or in the club. I know, bad puns, but that's why, by the way, something related, Donald Trump, he's desperate to be in the club. He's always wanted to be part of that cocktail circuit. And so this is a guy that's always inflated his wealth and, made himself appear to be more of a success than he is. But also, interestingly enough, because people see past that, I think, not like the people that watch him on TV, but like actual wealthy people, they still laugh at him because they're like, he's not one of us. No, this guy's an idiot. This guy's an idiot. He's a failure of a businessman. We know the real story about Donald Trump. And so that's why he's not necessarily part of that club. That said, I think what we can learn from this story that's really interesting is that in some cases, you can have racial issues take a back seat to class issues. So, for example, look, this guy, he's black, okay, is subject to the same issues of white supremacy and racism as any other black man would be, you would assume, right? But it's actually, I think that wealth provides somewhat of a cushion for him, somewhat of a shield. It's not a full shield, from what I understand, because there's still white supremacy, but that's a lot more than someone who is not a wealthy person gets. And so understand that there is that perspective from people who are wealthy African Americans or wealthy minorities. If they're only concerned about their own well-being and their own wealth, then those class issues are going to take precedence over issues of racial equality. So, for some people, that's going to be enough for them. And apparently 50 Cent is one of those people. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.